Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. Today, I am broadcasting for the first time on Instagram. So, for those of you who are watching me there, my name is Marissa Duran. I am a startup consultant and I help dentists who are first time practice owners go from breaking ground to breaking $1 million as for their first practice. And so, today's topic is one that is important to me because I get this question asked all the time regarding participation with dental insurance companies. As a new business owner, you know that when you launch your practice, you're taking on a lump sum of money to be able to fund for this project. And you're spending a lot of money, sometimes even $1 million, in order for you to go through the process of launching your practice. And the way that you are going to be compensated, it's going to be extremely important. So setting up the reimbursement and setting up the services and the specialty services that you're going to be providing is going to be extremely important. And I want you to be successful. So there are a lot of loopholes. And I would say that 80% of practices that I work with have to somehow enrolled with dental insurance companies, PPO insurances. There are many different products and programs out there. And I really work very diligently with my clients to make sure that you are making insurance participation an ally and not an adversary, especially as a first time practice owner. And I also do know that we don't know what we don't know. And for the most part, when we are getting into the decision making of how to set up our operations in the dental practice, it becomes where we don't know and we make uninformed decisions and we make mistakes that hurt our reimbursement. And so, what I want to do today, and if you're joining me for the first time, first of all, thank you. And second of all, let me know in the comments if you're able to hear me okay and see me okay. Because as I said, I'm not very well rounded in the technicality of going live and broadcasting. So, this is the first time that I'm broadcasting on my YouTube chat. I mean, I'm sorry, not YouTube. This is being broadcasted on my Facebook group, the dental startup journey, also on YouTube, and for the first time on Instagram. So I'm trying to improve on that. So thank you for joining me live. And if you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments if you are familiar with the concept of shared cost savings, which is what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. If you are a dentist considering doing a startup and insurance participation is going to be part of your business model, then you're going to want to watch this because it's going to educate you on how to manage insurance participation as a first-time practice owner. So one of the things that I wanted to go over is what is share cost savings and why is this an important topic for us to discuss? What share cost savings means, it's a new model that dental insurance companies have incorporated in order to make the reimbursement less transparent for dentists. So just to go back, because I know that I have a lot of audiences that are working as associates right now and they're just contemplating getting started with their practices. I may have clients that have worked with us in the past, and we help make sure that their optimization of reimbursement has been taken care of, but they have ongoing contracts with the insurance companies that are constantly changing. And as such, you want to make sure that you stay diligently and you want to make sure that you're taken care of as far as understanding the different options that you have. So first things are, in order for you to choose a location, it's going to be extremely important to figure out and do the due diligence in the market research, the competition, what they're doing in the area, and also understand the insurance makeup for that particular region, right? For that particular area, because that's going to be to a certain degree determining how you're going to structure your business model and your participation with the dental insurances. So if you are going to be participating with, let's say, Delta Dental, then you're going to do it for a period of time. Once your business is up and running, great, you can move on to something else. But if you are working with, say, a plan like MetLife or Aetna, I will tell you what, When I started my career back in working in a dental office, dealing with dental insurance companies back in 2004, every insurance company was very transparent. You needed to sign up with Aetna. You would reach out to Aetna. You get a fee schedule, and you would sign up and be participating with Aetna. As time has evolved, and just yesterday there was a notification between two insurances that have just recently joined in a reciprocal relationship, right? When I first started working with dental insurances, this was the case for Emeritus and Principal. Those were the very first insurance companies that I, as a front desk office manager person, had to deal with this reciprocal relationship between insurance companies. But over the course of years, insurance companies are either competing for a program that it's competing with the bigger margin, which is Delta Dental, and or they're creating affiliate partnerships amongst one another. So when we talk about share cost savings, what that means is that if you have a contract with, say, Aetna, and you also have a contract with another insurance that has a reciprocal relationship with Aetna, the insurance company itself may choose to pay out your claim following the lowest reimbursement of the two open contracts that you have. So the way this works, in more simple language, is, let's just say, for example, you are contracted with Guardian in this case right now, and you're also contracted with MetLife. So yesterday, a lot of doctors were saying there's a new relationship taking place between Guardian and MetLife. How does that affect me? Well, it affects you in the way that if you don't currently have a contract directly with Guardian, but you do have a contract with MetLife directly, then Guardian is going to pick you up and start paying your claims under the MetLife reimbursement. However, if you're contracted between the two plans, hypothetically speaking, the loophole share cost savings, and the reason why these insurance companies are going into this relationship simply means that if, let's say, your contracted rate, and this is again for my dental audience that is actively dealing with claims in the office and insurance contracts, if you are contracted right now under, let's say, $35 for an initial exam reimbursement for the code 0120, and you're covered at $33 for the other plan, just hypothetical numbers, through your direct contracts, then the insurance company, if you're contracted with both Guardian, let's say, and MetLife, they're going to be able to look at your claim and say, okay, this provider's contract with MetLife, it's lower than it is with Guardian. So why don't we, instead of paying $35, pay them $32, and then we each split $1 each, right? So the cost of the procedure is $35 for one contract. The other one is $33 for the same procedure code. Well, the insurance company is looking at the claim and saying, let's pay off the claim following the lowest fee schedule, and let's split the difference. That is what share cost savings means in the dental contracting world. And how this affects you as a first-time practice owner is, number one, you need to understand that there's a difference between credentialing and contracting. I have a lot of doctors who reach out to me and they're like, oh, I need help with credentialing. As of this year, my company, we no longer provide PPO negotiations or credentialing as a standalone service, but I am happy to educate any doctor that reaches out to me and point them in the right direction. But not only that, give them the educational resources that are going to help you make an informed decision. Again, understanding that you're probably the most expensive purchase in your life is going to be this dental practice, and the way that you're going to pay off and make a living for yourself, for your family, cover costs, and use this company of yours as a vehicle for growth for you, your family, add value to the community, and ultimately also your team, is how you structure and optimize your compensation. Because if you don't take care of this, it's going to be a situation where you are going to be at a default. It's going to be harder for you to break even. It's going to be harder for you to cover, your overhead and become profitable faster. And to avoid this, the insurance companies have all the money, all the resources, and the time and to be able to invest on just finding these loopholes. And this is why we're having this conversation today, because I want to empower you as a first time practice owner to understand that you need to protect your reimbursement and optimize it as much as possible, and understand that the insurance companies can be a tool for you to grow your practice, but you shouldn't rely on just whatever it is that they do, because they do have a lot of strategic planning that goes into how they structure their business relations, and it ultimately benefits them more than it benefits you. So, how do you avoid this? I'm going to share with you, I'm going to try to share my screen and see if I can. I'm going to share a screen. Let me see if this is the one that I can do for some research that I've done with my team, where you can potentially see how all of these insurance companies have created a client list. Now, years ago, in 2004, when I started dealing with insurance companies, I started my career in 1998, but in 2004 was when I started diving deep into insurance, contracting, credentialing, negotiations, coordination of benefits, billing, reconciliation, the whole shebang, right? I had developed great relationships with agents that have been able to share with me a lot of information about the different aspects of how they work. And as I said before it was just very straightforward. And in the last few months or last year, while I was still offering that as a service to the public, and we've again decided to discontinue offering that as a service, Cigna was one of those insurance companies that still had a model that was exclusive. Like they had their own programs, maybe they administer here a plan here or there, but for the most part, it would be very straightforward. You wouldn't have to worry about Cigna adding you through their contracted rates, then adding you to a trillion different number of plans. MetLife, same thing. MetLife had their, PDP plus federal programs, um, their HMO, obviously, but it was pretty straightforward. You were contracted with them. You had not to worry about these other plans like Aetna, that Aetna started this relationship after Emeritus. And here's how the history happened. As I was told by one colleague that, maybe about 15 years ago, and she explained to me from United Concordia how they had worked with this particular CEO or big contact person within the company, and he developed this loophole called share cost savings, and how that person was then hired by Aetna. And when Aetna hired them, then that person started creating the loophole between the affiliate relationships between United Concordia. Then he moved on to Aetna and started creating that reciprocal relationship. And Aetna became its own little umbrella company, which means that they have an affiliate relationship with other companies. And if you don't have a contract with those companies, you ultimately get picked up by that Aetna reimbursement. So important to note for you guys that are first-time practice owners, credentialing and contracting are two different things. When you are working as an associate for any given location, yes, you are considered being credentialed at that location because you are being added to an established contract where ideally they had negotiated the reimbursement for. So you're just being added to that contract. But when you're setting up your own entity for the first time, you are doing the contracting first, which then needs to be linked to the reimbursement that you're agreeing to, that needs to be in alignment with how you're going to cover your costs and relevancy and all these things. Like it needs to be strategically thought out. But ultimately as well, you're going to need to understand the loopholes and the relationships between these insurance companies so that you can make the contracting work for you, not against you. Then you do the credentialing. I had a really interesting company that reached out to me a while back while I was offering that service. And they said to me, when I was working, like I used to just sign all the credentialing applications for the doctors for all the different insurance companies because I used to get paid on the application itself. So the more applications I filled out, the better it was for me compensation wise. And I said, well, I'm hoping that you're learning how to unlearn that, because you're really hurting your clients or the dentist by just completing paperwork. It's counterintuitive for you to think that just because you're completing paperwork, you are adding benefit to the practice or to the provider. So credentialing, guys, really be mindful of this. If it's a new tax ID, you're going to want to pay attention to the the programs and the networks that are available, how relevant they are to the area, how impactful they're going to be, the reimbursement, any relationships that that plan may have with other carriers. And then after that, then you decide if you want to move forward with the credentialing or not. Okay. So for instance, I was saying last year, I learned that Cigna started adding a ton of different plans. We are used to looking at plans like YIHA or Connection Dental, which is its own network, but it also works as an umbrella, meaning if you sign up with them, they add you to all the people on their client list. Carrington works similarly. Dental Network of America works similarly. Zealous works that way, but you probably didn't know that United Healthcare also works that way, that they have a lease partnership agreement and a client list that they now add their providers that are directly contracted with them. And it is in your best interest to ensure that you are signing up with the plans that you are aware of, right? I have one of my clients right now that it's in Michigan, and she's learning a ton about the loopholes and the different plans underneath the one plan that she thinks she's going to be getting paid for, and how there are so many layers and sub layers of plans that will follow that same fee schedule that she's hesitant to agree to just for the group of patients that we want to serve. So besides this, I want you guys to take this as a training to understand how the insurance companies are continuing to expand their relationship, but how those relationships can ultimately affect your reimbursement, and for you to have tools at your disposal to be able to troubleshoot and opt out of these relationships as much as possible, and reduce the number of contracts that you have within the office, and make the decision on the insurances that you're participating with based on relevancy, your business model, and reimbursement, and optimizing that. So again, last year we started doing a lot of research and said, we want to find out like active accounts for Cigna. So now Cigna, as I told you before, was one of those insurance companies that I felt confident telling doctors, let's just go ahead and add you to this plan, because it's just simply not going to affect you. But guess what? They have entered into a relationship with all of these plans that may be relevant in your area or may not. But at the end of the day, if you didn't know this, and you just signed the contract and you don't sign an opt out form, you're going to get into a relationship that is unwanted or unknown to you, which is not fair. Okay, so that's one of those things. To give you another example, the other one that was really interesting to me was Principal I've known for a long time. If you see here, like affiliated companies with other payers, it gives you a list. Like every insurance company has this. And when you sign a contract with them, there are these loopholes. And so you want to be mindful of the relationships that they have with one another. Right now, the most recent one has been between Guardian and MetLife. And so if you are currently, let's say, directly contracted with MetLife, and you are following a different contract for, let's say, your Guardian participation, say Carrington, and from Carrington, which is an umbrella company, your reimbursement for your Guardian patients is $1,200. But then now through the MetLife relationship or your direct contract with MetLife, maybe $900 or $1,000, then that means that those Guardian claims that were not being paid under a different umbrella company, if you weren't directly contracted with them, are going to be downgraded to the $900. Similarly, if you're contracted with both MetLife and Guardian directly, and they have a reciprocal relationship, it is very likely that eventually you're not going to have the control to predict how your claims are going to be paid. Yes, through the insurance verification process, you can know this information up front, but a lot of times, even when you call to check eligibility, the agent said, eligibility is not a guarantee of payment. The information is going to be determined once the claim is received and processed. So they give you this disclaimer even through the verification process. And so you're at the mercy of how they choose to process the claim once it gets to their desk or the AI that it's now doing it. So they are able to retrieve the data. Hey, there is an active contract for this provider between this insurance and this insurance. The provider has an active contract directly with Guardian and directly with MetLife. Guardian contracted rate is $35. MetLife's contracted rate is $33. Let's pay $33 and split the share cost savings. And this is the loophole that a lot of dentists are not aware of. It took me years to learn about, and I don't take for granted, and I don't want you to take for granted that just because you sign a contract with an insurance company and it was under, a certain time within the practice, that is not subject to change. It is going to continue to change, and you want to stay diligent and on top of the game to troubleshoot and avoid falling into these loopholes. So what is the call of action if you're watching this and you are thinking about starting a practice? Well, first and foremost, if you are new to starting a practice and you are working as an associate and you need someone that's been there, done it, can help you, do the financing, find the location, manage all of your spending, and doing all the things that are important for you to launch a practice successfully, and handling the operations in a way that it's very hands-on and knowledgeable, because I have tons of experience and have done this over and over and over again. But if that is you, by all means, make sure you schedule a discovery call with me so that I can help guide you. If you are already a practice that is currently actively treating patients and you are actively under the contract for these two insurance companies, look at the reimbursement for each of those contracts and then make the decision to discontinue the relationship on the one that pays you the least of the two contracts. Because what will happen is you're not going to be guaranteed that if you are contracted for a specific dollar amount for each of those plans, that they're going to continue to abide and continue to pay you based on that contracted rate. Now it is subject to change. And what they're going to incorporate is the share cost savings, which means they're going to pay off on the lowest of the two contracted fees so that they can each split the savings equally between one another. So I hope that you have found this information helpful and useful. If you are an existing dental practice owner, that would be the strategy. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the folder that my team and I have put together, where we have centralized all of the different client lists for the different companies and their specific relationships and so on and so forth, I'm more than happy to make that accessible and available to you. So you just send me a message. And in my Facebook group, the Dental Startup Journey, I'm going to make sure that I put it as part of our tools that are there. And if you're not part of that group, I will encourage you to join. It's called the Dental Startup Journey on Facebook, and I try to go live. This is my first time doing it here on, at least on Instagram. I broadcast the show also on my YouTube channel that is called also the Dental Startup Journey, and on my other platforms as well. My first time doing it on Instagram. Hopefully I'll watch the replay later on and freak myself out over all the small details. But I'm really looking forward to doing more of these lives. If you find it helpful and useful, show me some support and make sure that you join my group so that you can stay tuned. And again, I want to empower you as a first-time practice owner to make your first dental office one that is both profitable and fulfilling for you and your family, your patients, and your team. Until next time, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I will talk to you soon.